My dad told me not to go outside that night. He never explained why. I don't talk about this much. My wife knows the short version. My buddies from high school know there's a version of this story, but I've never actually told it start to finish, not even to my dad, and he was there for the worst part of it. I grew up on a corn and soybean farm about 40 minutes outside Cedar Falls, Iowa, on a stretch of county road that doesn't even show up right on GPS half the time. Our closest neighbor, the Hendricksons, was almost 3 miles down the road. My mom died of ovarian cancer when I was 12, so from then on it was just me and my dad in that farmhouse. He worked the fields, I went to school, and in the fall I rode my bike to football practice because he was usually out working until dark and couldn't drive me. I'm telling you all this because I need you to understand that being alone outside at night wasn't unusual for me. I did it all the time. I biked 2 miles home from practice in the pitch dark more times than I can count. It never bothered me. My dad never once told me not to. Until that one night in September of my sophomore year. I remember it was late September because we'd just finished the second cutting on the hay, and the beans were still green, not ready for harvest yet. I got home from practice around 8, put my bike in the shed like always, and when I walked in the house, my dad was standing in the kitchen instead of sitting at the table like usual. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there. He said, "Don't go outside tonight, not even to the shed, not even for your bike. I mean it." I asked him why. He just said, "Just don't." His voice wasn't angry. It was flat, in a way I'd never heard from him. My dad was not a nervous guy. He'd worked that land his whole life, dealt with coyotes getting into the chicken coop, dealt with tornado warnings, dealt with burying his own wife. Nothing rattled him. So when he told me that and wouldn't explain it, it stuck with me more than if he'd yelled. I didn't push it. I ate dinner, did some homework, and around 11 I couldn't sleep, so I got up for a glass of water. My room faced the back of the house toward the fields. We had 4 sodium floodlights on poles out there, the kind that buzz a little and throw this orange-yellow light in patches. My dad kept them on at night because we'd been having trouble with deer, and that summer, something that had been getting into the grain bins that he never did identify. I looked out my window like I always did, not thinking about anything, and that's when I saw someone standing in the field. It was maybe 400 yards out, past the second light pole, in one of those gaps where the light barely reached. Most of the bean field was just black, but there was this one patch lit orange from the pole, and there was a person standing dead center in it, not moving. I want to be clear about something. From that distance, at night, under sodium light, you can't see color right. Sodium lights wash everything into this orange-brown. But this person looked wrong, even accounting for that. The color on them wasn't just orange from the light. It was darker in patches, almost rust-colored, like something had dried on their skin or their clothes. I remember thinking it looked like they'd been out in the mud, or maybe it was just work coveralls stained up from field work, which honestly wouldn't have been that strange around here. I watched for probably a full minute, telling myself it was nothing. Maybe Hendrickson's boy messing around. Maybe some hunter who'd wandered onto our land, which happens sometimes even though we didn't allow it. Then the figure lifted one arm, slow, and waved me toward it. Not a big wave, just one motion, arm up, hand open, and then it went still again. It didn't call out. It didn't move any closer to the light. It just stood there after that, like it was waiting to see what I'd do. I know how this sounds. I know the smart thing was to wake my dad up right then. But I was 15, and I told myself it might be somebody who actually needed help. Maybe somebody's car broke down on the county road. I didn't let myself think too hard about the alternative. I put on my shoes and went out the back door quiet, not through the front where my dad might hear the screen door. The night was warm still, that late September Iowa, warm where the air feels thick even after dark. I could hear crickets, and somewhere off toward the Hendricksons, a dog barking at something, on and off. My legs felt fine, walking the first 100 yards or so, right up until I got past our old grain bin, and the ground dipped down into the field proper. And then I started sweating in a way that had nothing to do with the temperature. The bean rows are only about knee-high that time of year, so I could see over them fine. But once I got in among them, the sound changed completely. Up by the house, the wind moving through beans just sounds like wind. Once you're inside it, walking through it, every gust sounds like something is moving through the rows near you, and not always in the direction the wind is actually blowing. I kept stopping because I'd hear a rustle off to my left, and then a second later, one off to my right, closer than it should have been able to get that fast. I told myself it was rabbits. We had plenty of rabbits in that field. I still tell myself that. I lost sight of the figure for a stretch because I dropped into a low part of the field, and when I came back up, I couldn't find the patch of light I'd been walking toward. Everything looked the same in every direction, 4 floodlights all throwing the same orange glow onto different empty rows, and for a second, I genuinely didn't know which way the house was behind me. I kept walking anyway. I don't know why. My legs just carried me forward like they'd already decided something my head hadn't agreed to yet. And then, without me really understanding how, I was standing right where the figure had been. There was nobody there, just an empty patch of bean rows and one of those strange circular flattened spots in the dirt, like the plants had been pressed down and stayed that way. The hair-thin stalks around the edge of it were bent and snapped in a way that didn't look like wind damage or deer damage. It looked broken by hand, almost deliberate, like something had pushed the stalks down one at a time instead of trampling through. My eyes started to go strange on me right about then. Not blurry like I was going to cry. More like the edges of everything got soft. The way things look right before you fall asleep sitting up. I remember thinking that was wrong, that I should be more scared than I was, and not being able to make myself feel it the way I should have. That's when a hand landed on my shoulder from behind, like it was trying to pull me backward. I spun around fast, and my dad was standing right there. The second I saw his flashlight beam swing across my face, it was like something let go of me. I came back to myself all at once, the way you do when you wake up out of a dream you didn't know you were having. He didn't yell. He grabbed my hand and held it so tight it actually hurt. And I remember that more than almost anything else from that night. Because my dad never grabbed me like that. Not once in my life. Not even when I was little and about to run into the road. He didn't say much. Just told me, quiet, that he'd told me not to come out here. I looked back toward that flattened circle before he pulled me away. There was a stone sitting right in the middle of it, wedged down between the broken stalks. It was smooth, almost polished, like something you'd find in a riverbed. Except, we don't have a river anywhere near that field, never have. It was dark red, and the red wasn't just on the stone. It looked like it had bled out a little around the edges into the dirt, like the color belonged to more than just the rock itself. I bent down without really thinking about it, reaching for the stone, and my dad yanked my hand back so hard I nearly lost my footing. He didn't explain. He just started walking, straight toward the house, fast, not looking left or right, not looking behind us even once. I kept feeling like something was moving along behind us in the dark, staying just far enough back that I couldn't be sure. And I think my dad felt it too, because he didn't slow down until we were through the back door and he'd thrown the deadbolt. Once we were inside, I asked him what that was. He told me again, in that same heavy voice, that he'd said not to go out there. He wasn't angry. I could hear something else in it, something closer to fear, like he was more scared of what almost happened to me than he was of whatever was actually out there. I asked him 2 or 3 more times over the next few days. He never gave me a real answer. That night, neither of us slept. I know because I could hear him in the kitchen at 2 in the morning, and again at 4. I'd never heard him up like that, not even the week my mom died. The next morning, walking to catch the bus, I ran into Mr. Hendrickson at the end of our driveway. He didn't waste time on hello. He just asked me straight out why there'd been screaming coming from our place the night before. I told him it was probably an animal. I could see in his face he didn't believe that for a second, but he didn't push it either. A few days after that, maybe 3, I don't remember exactly, I woke up early and heard my dad's voice out by the gate, talking to someone I didn't recognize. He was telling the man he wanted to sell the property, all of it, the house and the land, both. He didn't want me hearing it, because the second I stepped outside, he stopped talking mid-sentence. I asked him about it later that day. First, he told me I shouldn't be listening in on his conversations. Then, after a while, he said it different, said something like, we couldn't keep running the place by ourselves anymore, and that whatever we got for the land, we'd move into town, maybe get a little shop, somewhere easier. I didn't ask any more questions after that. It felt like there was a reason under the reason, and I think some part of me already understood he didn't want to say it out loud. Maybe because he didn't want to lose me the way he almost had that night. We moved into town before the year was out. He's 65 now. I don't bring up that night with him anymore, because the last few times I tried, he just said he doesn't remember it clearly. I know that's not true. I've never believed that's true. I still wonder what that was, standing out there in the light. I wonder if my father saw it too, the same way I did, or if he only knew enough to be afraid of it. And I wonder, more than anything, what would have happened if I'd picked up that stone before he got to me, or if he'd been 30 seconds slower walking out that back door. Some nights it still gets to me, thinking about it. I don't have an answer. I don't think I ever will.